So our first season with St Albans is complete, and today we start Season 2, still in the National League South. But before we get into that, I did just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for the incredible support there's been on this series so far. I'm recording this a few days in advance, so some of these numbers will be slightly out of date by the time the video comes out. But as of right now, episode 10 came out last night, and the series is still averaging over 16,000 views per episode, which for someone who's used to averaging about 5,000 views a video in a good month, that's utterly incredible. Thank you very much for the support. I'm glad you're all enjoying it. Welcome all the new people, and make sure you come back at 7 o'clock tonight because I have an extra special treat for you, for those of you who really want to dig deep into non-league to legend. Hello and welcome to part 13 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we're going to have a look at all of our summer ins and outs in the transfer market and play our first game of the new season away against Welling. Before I get started though, I do just want to officially announce 7 PM tonight we've got the return of Non-League to Legend Extra, and Non-League to Legend Extra is basically this transfer window. So if you want to watch this series kind of real time as it pans out and you're happy to really dig into some detail, this video later is like an hour long. It's like a live stream but in video format, and it goes from the end of the last season right the way up to just before this game. Look at all the players we tried to sign, trials coming in, decision process, tactical stuff, that kind of thing. If you want to be completely unspoilt watching that later, you might want to come back and watch this video afterwards, because we're just going to start off with a summary of what we did, because I understand that a lot of you aren't going to want to watch an hour-long video that's literally me looking at trial lists and scouring the transfer market. But for some of you, that's going to sound awesome. So I wanted to make sure I didn't spoil those of you who are excited at the prospect of the return of Non-League to Legend Extra. But we are going to look at the transfers now. So brace yourself for spoilers. The spoilers are coming now. I'm clicking the button. Let's have a look at the transfers, and we are going to start looking at the players that we released. So we knew these ones were coming, I think. None of these were regulars in the team last year. Certainly by the end of the season, none of them were even getting anywhere near the bench. So we say goodbye to Camdio, Snedker, Gabriel, Show Silva and Connor Russo, who didn't do enough. Despite being a youngster, didn't do enough to convince me to bring him back, although we did actually take him on trial again this summer, which of course you can find out more about at 7 o'clock tonight. But they're the players who've left. We're more interested in the players who've arrived. We haven't gone nuts. There's not loads and loads of new faces, because I don't think we needed loads and loads of new faces. But the loans that we had last year have all gone back. We weren't able to renew any of those or sign any of them permanently. So we had those, 5 squad spots that got released, plus another 5 players were in on loan. So we needed 10 players. And because I'm Kev, I've signed like 15. Some of these are very much signed for the future, but let's run through them all. First one is a midfielder, Daniel Horton, 19 years old, signed on a free transfer from Lincoln. I thought he was going to be better than he is, and he wasn't, and he's arrived and he's getting worse all the time. So he's really making the adjustment from full-time to part-time football brilliantly. We are paying him a lot of money though, so there's always that, and we've got him down as a key player. But at 5'3" and a ball-winning midfielder, he probably wasn't the smartest signing I've made all summer. It does get better from here, I promise you. I love the fact my coaches are saying he's a backup player but could improve. I'm going, highest paid player, key player. He's earning more than anyone who was in our squad last year. We have had a significant boost to the finances though, which explains some of these crazy deals. Doesn't explain this one at all, because this guy was the very first signing. But yeah, I promise you it gets better. Christy Patterson, this is where it starts to get better. We actually finally have a proper right-sided midfield player. He's in on a non-contract basis, so if he ends up being any good, we'll offer him a proper contract, or we might not be able to. More on that in a minute. 2.5-star current ability, 4.5-star potential, and he was at Braintree last year, where he didn't really play. But remember, Braintree are the league above. He's not coming in with the intention of coming straight into the first team, but we've actually got a couple of wingers to play on each side now, and Patterson will be our backup right winger. maybe even third choice, but he's young and can play on either side. So considering he's not costing us anything unless he plays, I think that's a win-win to bring him in. George Carline is another central midfielder, 26 years old, 2.5-star current ability. Again, he's on a non-contract thing. We just brought him in to fill out the squad a little bit. He's another one who played in the division above last year, where he's played for the last few years, but apparently isn't as good as the midfielders we already had at the club. Even, for example, Simon Tilney, the youngster who's coming through. So I'm blaming some of this on my coaches disagreeing with my scouts. And to me, Carline doesn't look like a disaster. I think for what we want in our midfield, he looks fairly solid, and I think we'll probably see some games out of him. Kel Akpabire is a 20-year-old striker, 2.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. He's coming in to be our second best striker at the club. He's effectively Spruce's replacement, and that's been the big issue we've had this summer. We haven't really been able to replace Spruce. We've got Sam Merson and Akpabire as our strikers this year. He's never played a game for anyone. We'll see if he's any good today, Joe McKenna is one of several centre-backs who's come into the club, a no-nonsense centre-back. He's also one of several players who's come in from Watford, our former parent club, but we have cancelled the link because I don't like having affiliate clubs in non-league to legend. I don't think it's how real football works. You can discuss that to your heart's content down in the comments. People always have strong opinions on that, but I just don't use him. McKenna is a 20-year-old centre-back there, 3-star current ability, 5-star potential. One of several good centre-backs who've come in this summer. We're still very solid at the back this year, hopefully. Ryan Suckling is his buddy because he's also come through Watford. He's also a centre-back. He's 2 years younger and a little bit taller, but other than that, it's just a carbon copy. This guy can play either side at full-back as well, but realistically, he's coming in to be a centre-back, probably our starting centre-back. 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential for Suckling. And we've also got Scott Nielsen, who's a left winger. So we finally have a natural left-sided midfield player. Scott Nielsen, yes, he's 32, but he has got bags of experience, most of it at a higher level than what we've been playing at. So he's played in the National League. He's played a little bit of league football for Crawley. Still only 32. Yes, the last few years of his career have been a little unspectacular. He kind of had his heyday in his mid-20s playing in the league and then the National League, and he's been gradually drifting down since then to the point where he ended up in the Southern League with Royston, but did then make the leap back with Concord after a year's gap, and now he joins us to be one of our options over on that left-hand side. Really, as a natural left winger, probably our first choice left midfield player. Kai Sanders is a left-back. We didn't need a left-back. We've still got Tom Bender and Ben Wyatt at the club. But Sanders looks so good that it just felt wrong not to sign him. He's another one that's been released by Watford. I know we didn't ever take advantage of bringing players in on loan last year, but goodness me, did we scout a few of them. So we did have first pick of Watford youngsters, and this just seemed like an absolute no-brainer to bring in Kai Sanders. He's better than either of the left-backs we had last season, and our two left-backs last year were probably our two best players. So we are absolutely sorted at left-back for a long while. Luke Hurst is another striker, 5-star potential, only 2-star current ability though. I had high hopes for him when we got a scout report and a trial that both marked him out as better than Sam Merson. On closer inspection, it turns out he's probably not. He's come in from Dagenham. And fingers crossed, my scouts are right and my coaches are idiots. Terence Sadie, I think, is the best player we've signed this summer. He's a natural right winger and natural left winger and can play further forward on either side as well. I don't know if I've ever seen a player who's natural in 4 different positions. 4-star current ability, 5-star potential, still only 18, comes in from Reading. He is going to be an absolute superstar for us. The only thing is he's not yet fit enough to play today, but we will have a look at him hopefully tomorrow unless he picks up an injury. And the last of the permanent signings is a goalkeeper, because we only had one goalkeeper after Snedker left and Catherall, the loanee that we had last season, went back, and we actually had the opportunity to sign him on a free. He wasn't up for it at all, so I don't think he's even got a club yet. But Rhys Davis did want to come to us. 3-star current ability, 5-star potential, so theoretically better than McDonough, although we're not necessarily going to throw him in straight away. Previously of Leicester and Newport. And then we brought in 3 loan players just to fill out the squad a little bit more. Boué Bosma was actually with us on loan last year. It's sort of earmarked as a potential long-term replacement for David Noble, but never really got in the team. But he had a 99 score on his scouting report over the summer, and as he's not costing us anything to bring in, I thought, you know what, let's bring him back for another year, give him a fair crack of the whip this time. He comes in as good as Sambu, better than everyone else we've got in midfield. I'm expecting big things out of Bosma this year, even if he didn't really impress last year. He's a year older now. Teddy Blur as a right back, because if we're going to have 3 really good left backs, we may as well have some good right backs as well. He's better than Ben Hurd and better than Percy, and will probably start a lot of games for us. He was on loan at Slough last season, and I'm expecting big things from him as well. And then the last one is absolutely a panic signing, because I realised we didn't have any strikers, and he's still not really a striker. It says he's a natural striker, but really, look at the role ability for striker positions. I mean, he's got 5 finishing. He's probably not a striker, but he can play on either wing if we need him. Realistically, Erwa Gooden isn't going to get in the team at any point. Watch this space, he'll be our superstar now, won't he? But at the moment I don't see where we fit him in. And that is the players that we've brought in. We did have a massive boost to our wage budget. We had a budget of just under £6,500 a week, and somehow, and you can let me know when you see Non-League to Legend Extra later as we go through this step by step, I was so careful not to go over, and I've gone over by 400 quid, and I don't know how. But we were over by 400 quid last year. The board said I managed finances well, and the balance shot up because we started on, where did we start last season? We were on like 50 grand, and we're now on nearly 500,000. So we're clearly doing okay for money. So I'm not that worried about that. And the big downside is if we end up having to let players go, well, we've got 3 or 4 players on non-contracts. If they leave, we're not going to be in a position to offer them a proper contract to make them stay. If we identify an absolute superstar, we're not going to be able to bring him in because we don't have any budget to do it. But we do still have loan gaps in the squad, and we are still very much looking for a proper striker to bring in on loan. We just don't have them for today. So this is the team that we're putting out there against Welling today. Little reminder of Welling last season. I think they finished up high. I mean, that's real good talk there, Kev. Where did they finish last season? They finished 7th. So yeah, I knew they were in the playoffs. I knew they were in and around us last season. So it's going to be a good test to see how we've done over the summer, because Welling were roughly the same as us last season. Hopefully, we're now going to be better than them. That's what we're looking for in terms of progress. We're not changing anything about the tactic other than the fact I finally put David Noble on a deep line playmaker instruction, just purely to try and drag another season out. I mean, he's 37 at the moment, turns 38 halfway through the season. And my thinking is, if he's a deep line playmaker, he's going to run less than as a central midfielder. If that causes us major problems and we look like we've got a gaping hole in our midfield, then we'll switch him back again. But I think he should be fine doing that role. And other than that, we've got a slightly altered tactic training because we don't really have much in the way of strikers. We are training a 4-3-3 as well. The only problem is we also don't really have a defensive midfield player. So we're going to need to make some additions to make that work. And if we're making additions, we may as well make this work. So the team we're going with today, we've got McDonough in goal, a back 4 of Wyatt, New Boy, Suckling, Mills and Hurd at the back. Hurd and Wyatt both having to really prove, and in fact McDonough as well. There's a lot of players who are in the team today on the basis of they were part of the team last year, and we don't want to disrupt things too much. But looking at the transfers we brought in, there are better players than Wyatt, McDonough and Hurd at the club in their positions. So they need to have big performances today to stay in the team. New Boy Patterson on the left. It's nice to have a proper left midfielder in the team. Noble and Sambu together as ever in midfield, with Bosma looking on thinking, right, which one of these have I got to trip over in the car park? And Wilkin moves back over to the right hand side of midfield. Despite training him to be a right midfield, I think we were training him to be a right midfielder all last year when he was playing as left midfield. He still just wants to be a more attacking winger. If needs be, we could always do that, and then he fits his position role perfectly. But to me, if you can play there, you can also play there. And I won't have anyone tell me otherwise. I don't understand how that can happen. And then we've got Merson in his normal pressing forward role alongside New Boy Akpabire up front. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but it's how I say his name. And that's the important thing. Let's get into the match anyway. I've talked enough. I've showed you enough new players. Now it's all about showing that these new players can get out there and sort their lives out. Our pre-season media prediction is another mid-table finish. The board are looking for a top half finish. So again, the board are looking for more than the media are expecting from us. Yeah, go out and express yourself. Oh, they love that. They want to express themselves. I'm glad that's what you want. Why are we so zoomed out? Again, new season, still massively zoomed out all the time. The one thing I haven't checked with all these new players coming in is dynamics. because I'm afraid to look at it. If the game goes well, we'll have a look at our dynamics. In fact, we'll probably look at it either way because it'll be nice to have something to blame. Here's Wyatt with the free kick, and it just sort of skims across the top of the crossbar. If Wyatt is going to force his way to remain in the team, I'm going to force myself into staying where I am. If he does manage to achieve that, it's going to be through his attacking exploits probably rather than what he can offer defensively. And there's still potentially an open slot on the left side of midfield. We're not married to any of the players, but we're definitely not married to anyone in that left midfield position just yet. Sambu to Wyatt. Wyatt out to Noble. What's Noble doing not in the centre circle? I know he just took a corner, but then we need some kind of segue system to just transport him back to the centre circle. We don't want him expending energy wandering around the pitch, especially while the match is going on. Did McDonough make a save there? I think it actually came back off the post. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, our goals for this season are similar to what they were last year. Try and win most of our home games, not lose most of our away games, and see where we are 10 games from the end of the season. And if we can have a playoff push, let's have a playoff push. Akpabire is in and he's brought down, and that's surely going to be a second yellow card for whoever that defender is, Achimpong for Welling, who's surely about to get a red card. And Ben Hurd is on the pitch. Is Ben Hurd still our penalty taker? I'm sure, of course he is. Of course he is. Ben Hurd with the opportunity to grab our first goal of the new season. Remember, got into double figures last year. Oh my goodness me. I mean, the miss was bad enough, but the follow-up, I mean, it wasn't even on target. I know it was on his weaker foot, but still, Ben Hurd is now, despite getting into double figures for goals last year, has now missed 2 big penalties. Fairly close together. I don't know if he's my penalty taker anymore. We might have to review that. Half time, I think we've done okay, but we should be ahead. They're down to 10 men. I think we probably, I don't know, this is where I've got to judge how good I think we are, because my instincts are screaming at me, Kev, they're down to 10 men, push on a little bit now, you don't need to play counter-attacking against 10 men. But then the sensible part of me is saying, yeah, but remember, Welling were a playoff team last year, you're away from home, it doesn't matter if they're down to 10 men, 0-0's a great result, let's just not lose. Noble floats the free kicking. It falls to Sam Merson in the area, and there's Patterson. I think he's offside. He is offside. It's disallowed, but Patterson showing at least a little bit of finishing ability, if a distinct lack of positional awareness. Although to be fair to him, that was very close, and it was a lovely finish from Patterson. So he's going to feel a little bit unlucky there. We're going to take Ben Hurd off. I know he's been harshly reduced on his rating by the penalty miss, but a 5.9 is a 5.9, and we've got Teddy Blur on the bench who, I mean, that might be the last you ever see of Ben Hurd, because Blur's supposedly much better than him. Noble with the free kick, Wyatt's there, and Wyatt scores. I said that man needs to attack. I don't really know why our left back is in there getting on the end of a free kick, but I mean, it's normal service resumed. First goal of the season, of course, it's a David Noble assist from a free kick. We just need to keep David Noble fit so that he can play for us forever. He's always going to be. I'm determined to take this man with me wherever we go as my coach, because he is a coaching superstar. He has been our key player throughout our first year of this series, and I love him. I love David Noble, not just because he's older than me and it makes me feel youthful. Right, Zane Banton. Zane Banton's actually under offer from another club at the moment, and we've got no way of convincing him to stay. So this might be Zane Banton's final appearance, but we are going to bring him on for Akpabire and just hope that bringing him on convinces him to stay. We're going to make Merson a poacher. And in fact, do we want to make another change? We'll hold off on taking Noble off. It's the first day of the season. He can manage another 5 minutes, surely. And then we'll take Noble off and bring on Bosma in midfield. He does not want to be a playmaker, so he can go back to the traditional central midfielder support that we were using in there last season. I think we might need to get a little bit fancy with some personalised instructions in the centre of midfield, just like we have on the wings and at the centre back, because really Noble's the only one who's earned the opportunity to play as a playmaker. I didn't really plan on using playmakers in non-league because it's a bit fancy, but Noble's good enough. But I don't know if any of the rest of them are. But what is good enough is a 1-0 away win against a team who were as good as us last year. That is cracking. What a way to start the season. Hopefully, the start of many wonderful things to come. If you have... Oh, hold on. I was going to look at dynamics, wasn't I? There you go. Despite bringing in loads of new players, everything's still good. Our team leaders are Noble. Of course they are, because he's a hero. Now we'll close it out and hopefully be back tomorrow. Well, we'll definitely be back tomorrow, but hopefully with a win is what I was going to say. And don't forget, if you want an hour of me signing those players you've just seen play, 7 o'clock tonight, Non-League to Legend Extra. I am going to be wanting feedback on what you think of that as a little side series thing to run alongside this one. We did it a little bit last year. I'm toying with the idea of doing it a little bit more this time round. But if you have enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.